Imagine you're out for a drive with some mates. You know the roads and the night sky like the back of your hand. They're desert roads, mostly dirt, and you're familiar with every dip and every hole, every moon shadow cast by twisted trees, every strange animal sound coming from the darkness. You could drive these roads blindfold, but one night, your feeling of freedom, your sense of safety on this land is shattered. So this happened to my son when he was 17 years old. We lived in New Mexico at the time. My son, whose name is Cody, was driving along with his friends, Drew and Alex. They were in Drew's truck and Drew was driving. It was night and they were heading to Drew's house. Well, Drew lived out in the country, so the road they were on was isolated and surrounded by the desert. In fact, that whole area is flat and mostly dirt. As they're driving along, they see a man standing in the middle of the road. Well, Drew slows down and they all expect the guy to move off to the side, but the guy doesn't move. He just stands there. So Drew ends up slowing down to a stop. The guy is standing just outside the light from the headlights. They could see he was wearing jeans and some sort of long-sleeve shirt. They couldn't make out the features of the guy's face, but they could tell that he was facing them. Nobody moves for a few seconds. Then the kids start to talk about going around him, but they're not sure if they should pass this guy or just turn around and go another way. Well, suddenly, the guy drops to all fours and starts running towards the truck. All the kids just started screaming. Drew slams the truck into reverse and floors it. Now they're going backwards on this dark country road, and this guy is chasing them on all fours. And he's keeping up with the truck. Well, Drew goes faster and faster, and finally, the guy drops out of sight. Drew turned the truck around and they all came back to our house. Well, I was in the living room. When they came running in, they slammed and locked the front door and went tearing up the stairs to Cody's room. Well, I went straight up to see what was going on, and this is when they told me the story. I've never seen those boys so pale and frightened. They were completely freaked out. Well, this happened on the Friday night around 8 p.m. And these were kids that normally would rather be anywhere except home on a weekend. But that weekend, they stayed at our place the whole time. They didn't go out at all. And then they only left because they had school on Monday. It was a month before they wanted to go out again at night. They'd go anywhere during the day, but at night they usually just gathered at our house. Well, after doing some research, the boys all agreed that it was a Skinwalker that they'd seen. Even to this day, if I bring up that night, Cody and his friends will get really quiet and just look terrified. They're still friends now, but it took a long time for them to get past it. And they still think that talking about it will make it come back. It is said that the Navajo people are cautious of speaking openly about skinwalkers, as doing so might summon the attention of a skinwalker. To speak of skinwalkers with a stranger is especially dangerous, as the stranger may be a skinwalker themselves, looking for a skeptical or unafraid person to torment. A singular sighting of a skinwalker could easily be dismissed as a joke or reasoned away somehow, but as with UFOs, the sheer volume of sightings of skinwalkers means that we can't simply discard it as fantasy of an overactive or deluded mind. We are compelled to look closer and at least try to understand what they are and why so many encounters with them take place on the road. About 15 years ago, my mum and cousin were coming home from visiting my aunt, who lived about 2 hours away. The drive takes you through the desert and up some mountains, but there is a shortcut you can take to avoid the mountains, and this shaves about 10 minutes off your drive home. The only problem is that the shortcut takes you literally through the middle of nowhere. It's a 2-lane road with nothing on it for 30 miles. There are no houses, no shops, no lights, not even those roadside emergency phone booths. So they're driving along through the shortcut at around 11 p.m. when they spot something on the road. At first, my cousin thinks it's a rock, so she slows down to go around it. But when she gets closer, she realises that it's a lady with long black hair and what looks like a shawl wrapped around her. She said she was crouched down facing away from my cousin. My mum says she thought the lady might have been in trouble, so they pulled up next to her and asked if she's okay and if she needs any help. My cousin said that the lady then stood up, looked directly at them, and let out a shriek like some kind of wild banshee. She insists to this day that her eyes were pitch black and her skin was as white as a sheet, and she was really, really skinny. To be fair, it was dark out and her mind might have been playing tricks on her, but nonetheless, the appearance of this thing was enough to spook the hell out of her and make her punch the accelerator and just get out of there. This lady took off after them and chased the car. Eventually, they lost sight of her, but they didn't stop for anything. They even ran a stop sign until they got to the next town, where they stopped at a gas station to get something to drink and collect their thoughts and try to calm down. A few weeks later, my cousin was telling her co-worker what had happened that night, and she said it was a skinwalker that she saw and that she was lucky to have gotten away. Well, that spooked her even worse, so now she won't go through that shortcut at all. Even when someone else is driving, she insists on taking the main highway. Exactly what a skinwalker is, well, that can be hard to pin down. Skinwalkers are said to be people that possess knowledge of both practical and spiritual medicine. They are capable of transforming themselves into a wolf, a coyote, a bear, a bird, or any animal. When the transformation is complete, the human is a skinwalker and inherits the speed, strength, or cunning of the animal whose shape it has taken. I wonder, could this explain the common act of chasing or running beside cars? Could this be an exhilarating act for a skinwalker? Does it pose a challenge for them? Or is it simply that people driving a car, particularly at night time, are the easiest prey to torment? I hope you're finding these true stories of skinwalkers interesting. If you enjoy my videos, please consider joining me as a patron. Patrons receive great bonuses, including extra content, and the support of my patrons keeps this channel going, so please take a look at the link below and see if it's something you might be interested in. Now, I've saved the most horrifying encounter for last. One story told on the Navajo reservation in Arizona concerns a woman who delivered newspapers in the early morning hours. She claims that during her rounds, she heard a scratching on the passenger door of the vehicle. That night, she had her baby sitting in the car seat right next to her. Suddenly, the door flung open and she saw the horrifying form of a creature she described as half man, half beast, with glowing red eyes and a gnarly arm that was reaching for her child. She frantically fought it off and managed to pull the door closed. Then she pounded the gas pedal and sped off out of there. To her horror, she said, The creature ran along with the car and continued to try to open the door. It stayed with her until she screeched up to an all-night convenience store. She grabbed her baby, ran inside, screaming and hysterical. But when the store employee dashed outside to see, the being had vanished. This story gives me chills. What did it want with the baby? What would it have done with that baby? Well, I'd love to see what you think in the comments below. And hey, how about giving me a thumbs up? I sure would appreciate it. And remember, it's a strange world. Keep your eyes and ears open and be kind. Cheerio!